your backyard, your oceans, your islands, your home was being watched by a foreign power every single day. Not with bullets or bombs, but with silent ships, unmanned drones, and radar signals that never sleep.
长官，有商船呼叫我舰。
山东舰你好，在太平洋上。
Welcome to the Philippines in 2025, a tropical paradise caught in the crosshairs of one of the most complex power plays of the 21st century. From the turquoise waters of Palawan to the quiet fishing villages of Pag-asa Island, people are waking up to a new reality. They're being watched, studied, and slowly pushed back. We used to cast nets, one fisherman whispers. Now we just look over our shoulder. This is not just about ships in the sea, it's about sovereignty under siege. And the question that now echoes across the archipelago is chilling in its simplicity. How do you protect what's yours when the enemy never fires a shot? The calm waters of the South China Sea hide an invisible war. One not fought with missiles, but with radar sweeps, covert drones, and shadowy fleets. As tensions grow, it is not the thunder of naval gunfire that alarms Filipino defense officials, but the quiet buzz of surveillance, the unmarked vessels patrolling disputed zones, and the ever-present fear that every move is being watched. This is the new battlefield, and the Philippines is in its crosshairs. Over the past year, China's maritime militia and Coast Guard have surged in activity across contested waters. These forces operate in a gray zone, blurring the line between civilian and military. Officially, fishermen or rescue crews, they often sail in tight formation, escort survey ships, and block Filipino vessels from accessing their own shoals and reefs. According to recent intelligence, these so-called civilian boats are equipped with high-powered sensors and encrypted communications, tools more suited for espionage than fishing. In its July 2nd, 2025 report, Defense News confirmed what many in the Philippines already feared. Filipino military pushes naval base upgrades, fearing Chinese spying. Unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, have been spotted loitering near EDCA bases in Cagayan and Palawan. Spy ships have lurked just beyond the country's exclusive economic zone, EEZ, while local radar stations report unexplained jamming and electronic interference, likely tests of electronic warfare capabilities. These aren't accidents, they're signals. And what's at stake? Everything. The South China Sea isn't just a regional flashpoint. It's one of the world's most strategically critical waterways, with over $3.5 trillion in trade passing through each year. Beneath its surface lie rich hydrocarbon reserves and fertile fishing grounds that have sustained Filipino coastal communities for generations. China's creeping presence directly threatens these lifelines, and the Philippines' ability to govern and benefit from its own territory. What makes this even more dangerous is the unconventional nature of the threat. This isn't open war, it's asymmetric warfare. It's a quiet, persistent campaign to pressure, exhaust, and gradually claim control without triggering global backlash. Analysts call it salami slicing, the methodical nibbling away at sovereignty, one reef, one patrol, one radio silence at a time. This is why fear has turned into urgency. Sovereignty, once undermined subtly, is now visibly eroding. Filipino fishermen are being pushed out of their own waters, their catches dwindling as Chinese industrial fleets sweep the sea clean. These fleets, often escorted by militia vessels, aren't just fishing. They're draining a nation's resources under a shield of plausible deniability. Even worse, from a military standpoint, the Philippines is flying blind. Its surveillance capabilities are limited. Without full domain awareness, it's impossible to respond decisively. If you know the enemy and know yourself, Sun Tzu once wrote, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. But right now, Manila only knows half that equation. Historical precedent adds weight to the concern. The 2012 Scarborough Shoal standoff marked the turning point, a Philippine retreat followed by China's de facto control of the reef. Despite the 2016 ruling by the Permanent Court of Arbitration, which invalidated China's expansive claims, Beijing simply ignored the verdict. The world watched but did nothing. For the Philippines, that moment served as a painful reminder. International law alone cannot defend sovereignty. Thomas Hobbes warned of the state of nature, a world without order where the strong dominate the weak. In the Melian dialogue, Thucydides records a chilling truth of ancient realpolitik. The strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must. If left unchecked, the Philippines risks becoming a modern-day Melos, a smaller power caught between competing titans. Even George Orwell's 1984 echoes in today's maritime tensions. Surveillance, after all, isn't just about watching. It's about controlling behavior. The ever-present eye changes how people act, where fishermen go, how officials speak. And in this climate of hyper-watchfulness, freedom itself can slowly suffocate. As Philippine forces move to fortify naval bases and build up radar, anti-drone, and signal intelligence systems, they're not just reacting to drones or patrol ships, they're responding to a philosophical crisis. The erosion of self-determination in the face of rising authoritarian reach. President Xi Jinping once declared, "No one should expect us to swallow anything that undermines our interests." Now, the Philippines is responding with its own shift in tone. Former President Rodrigo Duterte once said, "We are a small nation. We cannot afford to fight a war." But today's leadership is embracing a new strategy, not confrontation, but resilience. Through alliances, infrastructure, and sharper intelligence, they are building a deterrent, not an invitation to war. As UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres recently reaffirmed, international law is the bedrock of peaceful and just relations between states. That law is now being tested, and the Philippines, against all odds, is choosing to defend it. The Philippines is no longer whispering its response, it's building it. From the windswept coastlines of Palawan to the fortified docks of Cagayan, a quiet transformation is underway. Once symbolic outposts of a peripheral archipelago, these bases are now becoming hardened front lines in the contest for maritime sovereignty. Under rising pressure and the constant hum of foreign surveillance, Manila has begun a rapid modernization of its naval facilities, signaling not only urgency, but resolve. According to Defense News, Philippine officials have launched urgent upgrades across key naval installations. These include the installation of advanced radar arrays, satellite-linked communication systems, drone detection sensors, and expanded port facilities capable of docking larger naval and allied vessels. "We can no longer afford blind spots," one unnamed official stated. "What we can't see, we can't defend." The strategic logic behind these upgrades is as clear as the blue waters they aim to protect. Bases like those in Puerto Princesa, Palawan, and Basa Air Base in Pampanga, enhanced through the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement with the United States, sit close to disputed waters in the West Philippine Sea, providing ideal locations to project maritime domain awareness and rapid response. These are not just buildings, they are statements carved in concrete and steel, declarations that the Philippines is staking its claim with action, not just words. But this isn't simply a case of leaning on stronger allies. The Philippines is embracing a bold doctrine of self-reliant deterrence. It knows that no foreign power, no matter how friendly, will defend its territory as fiercely as those who call it home. That's why local defense planners are embracing what strategists call the porcupine strategy, a doctrine designed to make any potential invasion or encroachment painfully costly, even for a much larger adversary. By hardening their bases and multiplying surveillance reach, Filipino forces aren't trying to match China ship for ship. They're creating conditions where any act of aggression would be visible, recorded, resisted, and politically radioactive. Visibility in this context is power. The unseen cannot be defended, but the watched can be warned. And warned waters are dangerous waters. And the power of this strategy lies in three key effects. First, deterrence. With eyes on the sea and credible capacity on shore, the mere presence of a well-prepared outpost can dissuade adventurism. Second, rapid response. Incidents near Ayungin Shoal or Scarborough can now receive faster deployments, from patrol ships to diplomatic protests. Third, sovereignty was made visible. National pride isn't just upheld in court rulings, it's enforced by boots on reefs, patrols in shoals, and radar beams in contested skies. Neighboring Vietnam offers a quiet but potent case study. Over the past decade, Hanoi has steadily modernized its naval and coast guard fleets, strengthened coastal radars, and forged international partnerships, all while avoiding open confrontation. The Philippines, once hesitant, is now taking a page from that same playbook, but writing its own chapter with urgency. The deeper wisdom of this moment is echoed in the classics. Karl von Clausewitz, in On War, reminds us that war is merely the continuation of politics by other means. Upgrading bases is not about launching conflict, but about strengthening the diplomatic hand, a message to Beijing. And beyond that, the Philippines is not a passive pawn, but a sovereign state determined to defend its waters, its people, and its place in the regional order. Cicero, writing in De Officiis, offered a blunt truth: the sinews of war are infinite money. And indeed, these upgrades demand investment, not only in technology and steel, but in national will. In legislative chambers and budget briefings, Philippine leaders are now facing the cost of freedom and increasingly choosing to pay it. Yet this choice is not merely practical. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has vowed, "We will not give up a single square inch of our territory." It's a powerful pledge, echoing the iron determination of other world leaders who understood the price of peace.
I will not preside over any process that will abandon even 1 square inch of territory of the Republic of the Philippines to any foreign power.
Winston Churchill once declared, "We sleep safely in our beds because rough men stand ready in the night to visit violence on those who would do us harm." Today, it is not just men, but watchtowers, data feeds, and coordinated patrols that must stand ready. And their silent watch is the new shield of a nation. Finally, George Washington said, "To be prepared for war is one of the most effective means of preserving peace." That's the Philippine gamble. Not to invite conflict, but to raise the cost of conquest until no adversary finds it worth the price. This is more than a military pivot. It's a philosophical awakening. A realization that sovereignty isn't protected by hope or treaties alone, but by vigilance, investment, and action. In upgrading its naval bases, the Philippines is not just preparing for conflict, it is preparing to protect peace. The South China Sea may appear as just another stretch of ocean, but in reality, it's one of the most important squares on the global chessboard. And right now, the Philippines, a seemingly modest player, holds a pivotal position in the ongoing standoff between international law and unrestrained power projection. With rising tensions and growing Chinese assertiveness, the United States has doubled down on its alliance with the Philippines. Under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, joint military exercises have intensified. American troops now have rotational access to key Philippine bases, and funding for infrastructure upgrades has surged. Just this year, the U.S. committed over $100 million in base development projects, signaling a long-term investment in the region's security. President Joe Biden declared, "The United States stands with our allies and partners to uphold a free and open Indo-Pacific."
To build an Indo-Pacific that is free, open, prosperous, and secure for all. And I want to be clear, the United States defense commitments to Japan and to the Philippines are ironclad. They're ironclad. As I've said before, any attack on Philippine aircraft, vessels, or armed forces in the South China Sea would invoke our Mutual Defense Treaty.
That statement isn't just symbolic, it's strategic. At the heart of this partnership lies a shared goal: freedom of navigation. Over $3.5 trillion worth of trade flows through the South China Sea annually. If control over these waters becomes a matter of force rather than law, the global economy would be the first casualty. That's why the Philippines' resistance, through base upgrades, diplomatic outreach, and legal assertions, has become a global concern. As analysts put it, this isn't just about reefs and rocks. It's about rules and rights. But the Philippines isn't standing alone. Within the region, ASEAN remains a key, though divided player. Some member states, like Vietnam and Indonesia, share maritime disputes with China and are increasingly supportive of a firm, collective approach. Others, due to economic dependencies or political caution, remain hesitant. This fragile balance has slowed efforts for a binding code of conduct in the South China Sea. Still, every diplomatic note, every joint patrol, and every unified ASEAN summit statement becomes a quiet step toward regional solidarity. And looming above all this is international law, especially the 2016 ruling by the Permanent Court of Arbitration, which invalidated China's 9-line claims. Yet Beijing refuses to recognize it. The Philippines, on the other hand, wields it like a shield, a legal foundation for asserting its rights. This moment brings to life the writings of Hugo Grotius, the father of modern international law, who envisioned seas governed not by canons, but by common rules. In On the Law of War and Peace, he insisted that the sea belongs to all, a radical idea in his time, but a critical principle now. That's what makes this conflict out of the box. It's not a conventional war, but a struggle for norms. It's not just about deterring attacks. It's about denying the adversary's ability to dominate through surveillance, encroachment, and salami-slicing tactics. In strategic terms, this is deterrence by denial. Deny the gain, and you prevent the aggression. Zoom out further, and the South China Sea starts to look like a test site for global order itself. If China's claims go unchallenged, what stops any nation from rewriting borders by sheer force? That's why nations like Japan, Australia, and India, under frameworks like the Quad and AUKUS, have started patrolling, partnering, and projecting presence in support of stability. These aren't acts of provocation. They're signals of commitment to a rules-based Indo-Pacific. The stakes couldn't be higher. In his book, Destined for War, Graham Allison warns of the Thucydides trap, the pattern of catastrophic conflict when a rising power challenges an established one. China's rise and America's status create that exact scenario today. But the Philippines, through bold, peaceful resistance, may help the world find an off-ramp to escalation. This isn't just geopolitical theory. It's a lived reality for nations with fewer ships but stronger convictions. As Lee Kuan Yew once said, even from my sickbed, even if you're going to lower me into the grave and I feel that something is going wrong, I will get up. That's the level of vigilance Southeast Asian leaders know is required. That's what the Philippines is showing. Not just defiance, but design. Not just protest, but strategy. And in doing so, it invites all of us to ask, how do we defend our principles when power tries to push us around? The Philippines' naval upgrades aren't just military logistics. They are a national statement, a defiant answer to creeping surveillance, silent intimidation, and gray zone pressure. These fortified bases, upgraded radars, and stronger alliances are proof. This is a country that refuses to be bullied off its own map. But this isn't only about China or the South China Sea. This is a lesson for the world, for all of us. Because every one of us has our own sovereignty, our time, our values, our direction in life. And if we don't guard them, someone else will chart our course. The South China Sea is just water on a map, until you realize that trillions in global trade pass through it, that fishers' livelihoods depend on it, and that law-abiding nations have staked their futures on defending its freedom. What the Philippines is doing now is not just defense, it's dignity in action. It's saying, we may not be the biggest, but we will not be invisible. We will not be silent. So here's the question. How do you respond when your boundaries are tested? How do you act when others watch? Or worse, when no one is? Because in every quiet patrol, in every upgrade plan, in every diplomat speech, there's a message for us. True strength is not about domination. It's about knowing what's worth defending. From the South China Sea to your own life, this is the lesson. Prepare boldly. Lead with principle. Stand your ground. Thank you for tuning into our channel. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis of global issues.